Rosemary Rosenbaum with Coalition for Animals, and currently the president. Coalition for Animals is a statewide parent organization which God's Creatures Ministry is a member. Part of our mission statement is that we promote compassion, respect, and protection for all sentient beings, human and animal, wild and domestic, local and global. And we advocate for sharing the environment in peace and harmony. Animals need churches to get involved, and I don't mean in the traditional sense. We are all God's creatures. It seems that animals in our world are the ones that know who they are and why they're here. It is us humans who have a lot to learn, and we should take notice. We are all created. We're all created by God. And it would be nice and wonderful that someday we could share our world with compassion, as God has compassion for all life.
Hello, hi, I'm Deborah Jones, and I work part-time for Catholic Concern for Animals in the UK. This charity began in the 1920s in England and has now spread to 52 countries worldwide. Since the 2nd century Irenaeus, the Church has celebrated all of God's creation, and yet there is the other view, which holds that the human being alone is the pinnacle of creation to which all else is directed. The second view may have developed in centuries past with an overemphasis on God as transcendently other, an absolute monarch of a God who hands over the world for human beings to rule in a similarly absolutist manner. The late 4th, early 5th century St. Augustine. He considered that animals, as it was then understood, had no rational soul, and so humans did not need to regard them as fellow members of the legal community, and therefore could do with them as they liked. St. Thomas Aquinas followed Augustine's line and added the teaching that the weaker is made to serve the stronger, the lower the higher. As minerals serve plants and plants animals, so, he taught, animals serve people and people serve God. Everything was made for a purpose, and the sole purpose of animals is to be in the service of people. He didn't deny that animals have a soul, but it wasn't a rational and thus eternal one. Aquinas would have deplored cruelty to animals only for the harm done to the soul of the human being, but not to the animal. These views have proved harmful to animals throughout history, so that now in Catholic countries like the Philippines, there is a cockfighting pit in every town. In Spain, there's the bull ring, and in that and other Mediterranean countries, animals are tortured for sport in fiestas that celebrate the patron saint of the town. The Thomist, or Thomas Aquinas, view, too, of the lower or weaker serving the stronger or higher may be descriptive of fallen nature, but it runs counter to the whole gospel message of self-sacrificial service from those with power and strength to those without, to the poor and the weak.
Let's talk about living in the will of God.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven.
How do we live in the will of God? How do we live in the perfection of our Father who is in heaven? How do we manifest God's heavenly will here on earth? We do it by being the peacemaking children of God that we have been called to be. If anything that we're doing is not based on love and compassion and peace for the whole of creation, it's probably wrong for us to do. That doesn't mean we can't utilize part of the earth. It doesn't mean that we can't have fellowship with the animals, but we can't exploit them or the earth upon which we all live. We have to be environmentally spiritually and emotionally involved as the whole of creation is.
Remember, the environment belongs to animals too. Climate change affects all creatures, and tens of thousands of whole species are likely to be wiped out, to face total extinction through climate change, unless we do something to try to reverse it, and starting now. In one of the paragraphs of the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 2416, are the remarkable statements, "Animals are God's creatures. He surrounds them with his providential care. By their mere existence they bless him and give him glory. Thus men owe them kindness. It is the human being's privilege to be responsible for the rest of nature in the same manner in which God relates lovingly to all. For that is what it is to be made in God's image. Is it the image of a loving God or of a devil, which a dancing bear or a caged chicken or an overburdened donkey sees when it looks at a human being?" The issue of nature being red in tooth and claw is problematic. Suffering and death are in the world, but because of Christ's redemption, these consequences of sin have been overcome, and the restoration of the kingdom of God has begun.
And the wolf will dwell with the lamb, and the leopard will lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little boy will lead them. Also the cow and the bear will graze. Their young will lie down together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox. And the nursing child will play by the hole of the cobra, and the weaned child will put his hand on the viper's den. They will not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea.
Most churches teach that this is some future time. This is when Christ comes back. This is when he'll rule with an iron rod. Because they deny also that animals go to heaven, even though the Bible tells us that they do. But they try to get around this point. That's not for the here and now. And yet, we side with the Hebrew sages who believe that until we begin to usher in this peaceable kingdom, Messiah doesn't